Before anything else, we need to gently reset the foundation. There is no verified public report that Nancy Guthrie has been abducted, no confirmed ransom videos, and no documented private confession from Al Roker about secret family dynamics at NBC. When real people are involved, especially public figures like Savannah Guthrie, it's important to separate emotional storytelling from confirmed fact. Rumors involving disappearance, ransom deadlines, or private off-the-record meetings can spread quickly and take on a life of their own. But they also carry consequences. So instead of amplifying unverified claims, let's focus on something real and meaningful. The emotional architecture behind public strength, the complicated beauty of parent-child relationships, and the quiet pressure high achievers often carry. That conversation doesn't need a fictional crisis to be powerful. It only needs honesty, compassion, and a human lens. Why stories like this feel so convincing? There's a reason narratives like this grip us immediately. A respected veteran colleague quietly sharing concern, a calm anchor whose voice almost cracks, a family crisis unfolding under studio lights. It feels intimate, as if we've been invited into a private circle where truth finally spills out. We're wired to lean toward stories that promise emotional revelation. When someone says, "I know what's really happening behind the scenes," it triggers both curiosity and empathy. We want to understand the human being beneath the polished exterior. That desire isn't wrong. In fact, it's deeply human. But sometimes the power of a story comes not from evidence, but from how closely it mirrors struggles many of us recognize: pressure, parental expectations, the fear of not being enough. When something feels true emotionally, we can mistake it for being true factually. That distinction matters more than ever. The reality of long-term professional bonds. It's true that morning television teams form unusually close relationships. When you begin work before sunrise, share makeup rooms, production meetings, and high-pressure live broadcasts, colleagues can begin to feel like extended family. Today has operated for decades as a tight professional ecosystem where anchors support one another through rating swings, personal milestones, and breaking news. That closeness, however, doesn't automatically translate into secret psychological revelations. Veteran broadcasters like Al Roker have earned reputations built on warmth and loyalty, but also discretion. Professional respect inside major news organizations is often defined by what remains private, not what becomes whispered narrative. It's entirely believable that colleagues care deeply about one another's well-being. It's far less responsible to turn that care into detailed, unverified emotional exposés. Real support usually happens quietly, without dramatic monologues attached. Public composure isn't a hidden code. One of the most repeated themes in the original narrative is composure. Savannah, sitting upright, voice steady, words deliberate. We often interpret that posture as a sign of internal turmoil barely contained. But composure, especially in journalism, is a trained skill. Broadcasters are conditioned to regulate tone under stress. They learn to deliver clarity during chaos. That doesn't mean they're suppressing lifelong psychological programming. It means they're doing their job. The ability to speak calmly during emotional moments is frequently the result of years of experience, not evidence of fear or conditional love. When we study facial expressions or vocal tremors searching for deeper secrets, we may be projecting our own understanding of stress onto someone else's professionalism. Strength and control are not necessarily masks. Sometimes they are simply habits formed in high-stakes environments. The complexity of mother-daughter expectations. The idea of a daughter striving for her mother's approval resonates because many people recognize pieces of themselves in that dynamic. Some parents motivate through high standards, some through reassurance, most through a complicated mixture of both. It's tempting to reduce that complexity into a clear psychological blueprint. Discipline created perfectionism, perfectionism created public success, and success hides vulnerability. That arc makes for compelling storytelling. But real relationships resist tidy narratives. A parent asking, "Are you doing your best?" can be experienced as love, pressure, or both. Over decades, those messages shift and evolve. Public audiences rarely have access to the full picture of a family's inner world. To claim certainty about someone else's lifelong emotional conditioning without verified testimony is to simplify something deeply nuanced. Families are rarely steel or softness alone. They are layered, imperfect, and human. How projection fills the silence. When a public figure faces stress and doesn't immediately narrate their internal experience, audiences step into the silence. We analyze interviews, rewind clips, share interpretations. Social media accelerates that instinct. A single phrase, "we will pay" or "stay strong," can be replayed and dissected thousands of times. Viewers may see heartbreak, others see determination, still others see strategy. The truth is that tone alone rarely reveals internal motives. Silence and steadiness are often practical choices, especially in legal or high-profile situations. We should be cautious about assigning elaborate psychological backstories to short public statements. Projection is powerful because it feels insightful, but insight without confirmation can quietly turn into assumption, and assumption, when repeated often enough, can begin to feel like fact. Strength, vulnerability, and the cost of high achievement. There is a broader and more meaningful conversation worth having here, one not tied to unverified crises. Many high achievers, particularly in public careers, grow up internalizing standards of resilience. They learn to function through exhaustion, to compartmentalize emotion, to maintain poise under scrutiny. That pattern can be empowering. It can also be isolating. The tension between strength and vulnerability is universal. At some point, everyone confronts the realization that constant composure is unsustainable. But that realization belongs to the individual, not to observers constructing it from afar. We can acknowledge that public figures likely carry private burdens without narrating those burdens for them. Respecting that boundary doesn't diminish empathy. It deepens it. It allows room for humanity without turning speculation into storyline. The responsibility of sharing stories. When we share emotionally charged narratives involving real people, we participate in shaping public perception. Even when framed as concern or admiration, detailed psychological claims can alter how millions interpret someone's character. Responsible storytelling means asking, is this confirmed? Is it fair? Does it protect the dignity of those involved? It's easy to justify spreading a story because it explains everything. But explanations built on unverified private conversations can unintentionally create harm. The media environment moves quickly, and dramatic interpretations travel farther than corrections. Choosing restraint may feel less exciting, but it honors truth over intrigue. Compassion is not measured by how intensely we speculate about someone's pain. It's measured by how carefully we handle their reality. Seeing the human without inventing the crisis. It's entirely possible to watch a broadcast and recognize genuine emotion without attaching it to hidden scripts. A steady voice can still carry strain. A composed posture can still signal effort. Public professionals are human beings first. They have families, histories, and private complexities that deserve protection. We don't need fictional abductions or secret meetings to appreciate the weight of public life. We can admire resilience without assuming it was forged in emotional scarcity. We can hope for someone's well-being without constructing a psychological thriller around their silence. Sometimes the most respectful way to care is simply to acknowledge that we don't know everything, and we don't need to. Choosing compassion. Over conspiracy, at the end of the day, stories like this spread because they tap into something tender, the universal desire to be enough in the eyes of someone we love. That theme resonates whether you're a television anchor or someone reading this at midnight with your own doubts. But resonance should guide empathy, not rumor. If we truly care about the people whose names circulate in dramatic narratives, the best gift we can offer is restraint, paired with goodwill. Let their verified words stand on their own. Let their private lives remain private. And let strength be what it appears to be unless they choose to tell us otherwise. In a culture that rewards sensational revelations, choosing accuracy and compassion is a quiet act of integrity. It may not trend, it may not feel explosive, but it honors something more enduring than drama. It honors truth.